What is up, everybody?
What's going
It's
on?
your pop-up sitting up. No, that's Richard. What we need to come up with a name for when we just pop up with unannounced.
Well, we'll figure something out.
We got to figure something out. But what's up, everybody? It's Wakanda Whiskey and Blerd-dom. I'm your boy Paul. With me is my boy Marc.
What's going on?
Wait, that way, that way. And we're sipping on some things, talking about some comics, ranting and raving and chatting about the various things in the Blerd world, stuff that we find interesting. Hopefully you find it interesting too. So to that end, let's see, what are we sipping on? I have today what I am sipping on. Happy St. Patty's Day. I see you got your green on.
Yep, got to represent. Actually, this shirt is a Jameson shirt I saw on social media that I bought last St. Patty's Day, and it's the last time I wore it. So I'm wearing that, even though I don't have any Jamesons that I'm sipping on. I have a bourbon, but my hat is, of course, Miami because we're playing in March Madness right now.
Yeah,
And
we weren't doing
just
too
went
good.
up on us by 3 points. It's 50-47 right now.
Right now?
Yep.
Wow.
So I got that right there so I can see the score.
Well, keep me apprised. This is what I'm sipping on right now. Some Basil Hayden Kentucky bourbon.
You've had that before while we've done this, yes?
No, this is the first time I've had Basil Hayden.
Ever?
Not ever, just on the show.
Gotcha. Okay.
The last thing I had was, well, the last time we were on, was Duke and Dame's
that dude.
salted.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning that.
That is absolutely delicious. I'll probably get me a couple more bottles of that. But this Basil Hayden, if you want, I like bourbon. Bourbon is really starting to become a thing for me. Because it's so sweet, you tend to just sort of drink it a lot more. And it kind of creeps up on you because it's so sweet and you're just drinking it like it's, Kool-Aid or something. But this is not bad.
For me, Irish whiskey is quote unquote sweeter than bourbon over here in the States. I don't know what type of grains or the water. I don't know what it is. But one of my favorites is Redbreast 12. And that's an Irish whiskey. I had it for the first time like 8-9 years ago, and I love it. Back when I first started drinking it, and I would buy it at the store. It's like 47, no more than $50. I was in the liquor store today. That bottle has raised to $74 a bottle. So
Yeah.
needless to say, it stayed right there in the store where it was. But what I am drinking is this Broken Barrel. I've never had this before, and I've never cracked the seal on this. I'm about to crack the seal on this here in a second. But Broken
So this is
Barrel,
gonna be your first tasting of this?
very first tasting ever. I can't remember who suggested this to me. Obviously, the price point was, and when I say obviously, if I'm gonna buy some whiskey for the first time, knowing nothing about it, I'm not gonna invest a lot of money because I'm gonna be mad if I spend like 70, 80 $80 on a bottle and I don't know anything about it. So I'm gonna guess this bottle was 50 or less, which is why I bought it.
Right.
So this is my first time cracking.
That's his way of saying that he's dead ass cheap.
No, that's saying that I'm smart and I don't want to waste my money. This does smell relatively sweet. I detect some floral notes in there. Let's see.
Look at this dude talking about the nose of the whiskey. Is there a hint of juniper in there?
It reminds me of a rye because it's got a slight bite to it at the end.
Mm-hmm. The Basil Hayden has some rye in it as well.
I can say it's not bad. I wouldn't necessarily go out and order this at a restaurant or bar or anything, but it's not bad. Now, what I am gonna do is, now that I've had my initial sip, there's this event here, and they have it down there in Tampa called Beer, Bourbon, and Barbecue. And they have it up here every year around February, March. They had it here a couple of weeks ago. And I went, and they were up there smoking the glasses. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever seen that before, but, it just adds a little flavor, and it's, just something fun. Now, after I went there, I ordered this online. This is a whiskey smoker. There we go. So basically what you do, it has wood chips, right? You put the wood chips in here. I think that's cherry wood that I have in there. You put this on top of your glass like this. And then all you do is add fire. Now, the kit came with four different wood chips.
Did it come with that lighter in your hand?
It came with the lighter.
Oh, that's worth it by itself.
Four different wood chips, as well as this thing right here that you put them in.
Put it in I can't see what you're showing. I can't see what you're doing.
So basically, it infuses the whiskey with the smoke of the wood chips.
How long do you keep that on there?
Not long. I just wanted folks to see how I do it. Then you pop this off.
Yeah. Do you drink it while the smoke is still there?
No, I let it dissipate.
Dissipate first.
Okay. I let it dissipate, yeah. Oh, it smells good. I wish you could smell this. It smells really, really good. So, yeah. So, like I said, it was just something I bought. It was on Amazon for about $35. I have a thing with skulls. On my motorcycle, I have a Harley. And Willie G was one of the Harley Davidson. He was either a Harley or a Davidson. And back in the 60s or 70s, he was in charge of like advertising or something along those lines. And he came up with the Willie G logo, which is a skull. So I've now gotten into skulls. So when I went looking for the whiskey smoker thing, I saw that and I'm like, yo, I gotta have it. So yeah. And like I said, it was only $40.
Well, let's get into our books. So first up on our books of the week, we have Bishop War College.
I saw that cover And it looked really, really cool. I didn't buy it, but it did look cool.
Yeah, we actually got to interview this artist, Sean Damian Hill, um, last weekend. Young brother, really making a name for himself. He's really hot artist right now. You've probably seen his work, but didn't realize that you saw it. He did issues, I think it was 4 and 5 of the Blood Syndicate, this most recent Blood Syndicate run, season 1. He stepped in for Crisscross on, I don't remember if it was issue 4 or issue 5, it was one of those two. Really dope artist, up and coming, very humble, nice guy. He's been in our space for some time. Shout out to Sean Damian Hill.
Did he do one of those variant covers, or he just did the interior art? Do you know?
He also did a cover for the issue that he did the art on. The one where Holocaust is sitting on a throne with a
yes, yes. That was my favorite one. I didn't buy it, I don't think, but yeah.
That was him. That was him. Now, for those of you who don't know the story of what's going on here, Bishop is one of the most underutilized X-Men, in my opinion. So
All
much so that,
all the black ones are. Sorry to interrupt, but all the black ones.
Absolutely. There's a shout out to Ryan Ryan Frazier of World of Black Superheroes website. He actually calculated that there are about 100 black X-Men in comics. Most people don't realize that there's that many. But yeah, there's about, I should say black X-Men. There's 100 black mutants in comics. Much of them are X-Men. But you only get to see a handful of X-Men in any decade. Black X-Men, I mean. Bishop has been one of the most consistent ones, along with Storm. Bishop has a very storied history. He's had his own series in the past, even limited series in the past. But they have this guy always kind of in the background doing a support role. I even sent a message to Marvel once, like, why are you guys holding him back? This is a man whose history was as a commander in the XSE. He was a cop in New York running a mutant task force. He was kind of like a ancillary member of S.H.I.E.L.D. at one point. He has a very, very long storied history. He's got lots of training, lots of leadership skill, lots of leadership roles in his past. And they had him on a team being run by Kitty Pryde. Someone who just basically is, you would assume, kind of in her maybe mid-20s at this point.
I would say she's in her 30s. I'm going to say Kitty's probably in her early 30s.
Fine. But suffice it to say, she does not
have the experience of Bishop.
Have the experience to be running a team over Bishop. What was really inconsistent is they even promoted Bishop finally to Captain Commander of the X-Men forces, but still left him on a team subservient to Kitty, even though he's in charge of all of Krakoa's military. It didn't make any sense. If they were saying, well, we need to make sure that we have a black guy on this team, as I said, there's like 100 black mutants out there. They could have picked one and stuck on the team if it's just a matter of having a quota or numbers. Marvel's X department has always, in my opinion, been lacking in giving appropriate representation to their black characters, unfortunately. And hopefully they'll get better. But one of the things I said was stop holding him back to Marvel. This guy should be leading his own team. Now, within months of me tweeting that to them, this book is announced.
So are you taking credit for that?
Is it a coincidence? I don't know. But this book came out. He's training a group of young mutants to be the next group of X-Men. Long story short, without giving too many spoilers, he's also training with the person you see on the screen with him, Tempo, who's now kind of an ancillary X-Men, so to speak. She's on a Marauders team with him, and says, "Hey, why don't you build a temporal bubble that we can train these kids in, so we can train them up faster within this time bubble."
They got that from Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, I did not know that because I don't not really familiar with Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. There's just basically they'll go in this room. Time is different in this room, so you can get a year's worth of training in like a couple of days, whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's a Dragon Ball Z trope right there.
So, long story short, he gets time displaced. I can go through the intricacies of what happens. I don't want to do any spoilers. And in this story, you have this moment, which I'm going to show you, that is really kind of cool. 1 second.
It's 5653 Drake.
I'm sorry?
5653 Drake.
I don't know what that means.
We're playing Drake. Miami's playing Drake in the NCAA tournament.
Oh. The score. He goes not through time necessarily, but he definitely travels to a different place. Yeah, shout out to Sean Damian Hill. This panel made history. This one panel.
Wait, so is this issue 1 or issue 2?
This is issue 2.
Did he do issue 1?
He did do issue 1 as well. This is his book.
This art is really, really good.
The kid's really good. He's really good.
Really good. I like this.
So this is the first time you've seen a team of sort of black X-Men. Well, this is Xavier's school, all black, right? And then if you go a little further, I don't want to give too many spoilers, so just bear with me here. Even more so, you see this moment. Something that I've been wanting to see since I first read an X-Men comic book back in the 1980s.
Let me guess, the Black Professor X.
Close. An entire team of black X-Men. Look at Jean Grey's hair. It's
Look
like
at Beats with those dreads, man. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm now interested.
Yeah, this is a dope moment. I'm not much for race swapping, but this isn't just a race swap for the sake of race swapping. This is an entirely all black. I don't know if the whole planet's black. They haven't got that far in the story, but the whole X-Men team in Xavier's school is all black.
And it's an alternate universe, so they can quote unquote do that without raising a lot of hackles.
Correct.
So I take no issue with race swapping in that regard, personally.
And for the point that you were asking about specifically, we have this moment right here. Here's your Giancarlo Esposito. Black Charles Xavier.
What Paul is talking about is there has been a lot of fan casting of Giancarlo Esposito, aka Big Brother Almighty, aka
Moff Gideon.
Yeah, Better Call Saul. Gus Fring. Gus Fring on Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, aka Moff Gideon in Star Wars. A lot of people have been fan casting him to play Xavier, and he's a phenomenal actor, love him to death. Personally, I didn't want to see it because, Xavier has historically been a white character. I hate when they race, gender, sexual orientation swap for no reason other than doing it. So that's why, personally, I've been against him playing that role. But he's a phenomenal actor. And in an alt universe, then, yeah, I could see him doing it in this regard. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an alt universe of, I guess, I don't know if it's a black planet, but it's dope just to see in print, man. I can imagine this just came out a couple days ago this week. I can only imagine the fanboy outcry about this. Like, why does it have to be an all black team? Why can't it be an all white team? Those type of, completely.
But, I doubt if people would be as up in arms, as I said, because it's an alt universe and we've become accustomed to that. So I doubt that it would be that bad, the outcry. As an aside, it's tied up 56-56.
Okay. How much time is left?
Can't tell.
All right.
So
So
anyway,
next
that
book
looks
we
interesting.
have up is Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, number 2. Just came out this week.
Yep.
Why don't you tell us about this?
This book is actually pretty good. I've never really been a Blade fan, even after the great classic movie. And yes, Blade 1 is classic. When it dropped in, what was it, 98 or so?
Yeah, 98.
I never got on the Blade bandwagon. I liked the movie for what it was, love Wesley Snipes. Thanks to him. Well, I'm not going to go into that, but I love the character on screen. I never got into him in comics, but because the character is a black character, I have over the past 2, 3, 4 years made a concerted effort to start going after black characters, black creatives, etc. In this book, only 2 issues have dropped. This young lady is the daughter of Blade and a quote unquote mortal woman. She is about 14, 15 years old. She's in high school and she's just discovering that she has powers. Now, Blade, aka Eric, is not with her mother, so she's being raised by a single parent. Her mom was somewhat of a vampire hunter in her own right, but obviously she doesn't have the powers or abilities of a daywalker.
Well,
But
hold on. Let me just one last thing. The mom, her name is Saffron, and she's been around for a very long time. She was been around since Blade was in his own not fanzine. It wasn't a fanzine. It was kind of like a, you know how back in the 70s they used to do these specials that were like extra sized books.
yes,
He was in a Marvel premiere called Blade, and that was her first introduction into the Marvel universe, and that was back in the 70s.
see, I didn't know that because
She's
again,
been his girlfriend for a very long time, and in fact, if you read Tomb of Dracula, she was in a few of those issues as well.
so now it seems that Marvel is dusting off some of these characters who've been sitting in the vault for a generation and making new stories with them. And
Well, this is done by Danny Lore, a black comic creator, and these are the type of things that I love when creators go back into the vault, dust off, as you said, these old characters and bring them into the modern age. So shout out to Danny Lore for doing that. That was just really dope.
right, here we go. Got another one going.
How's it tasting?
It, it's pretty gosh darn good.
Now you tasted it before you
I
put the
like it
smoke in.
better. I like it better smoked because it actually takes off some of the harshness that I was tasting.
Right.
Um, the next, I'll go back into the tasting notes on the next sip without the smoke on it, so I can articulate that also. But going back to this, the book is about a young lady who's going through the. Just think about how the X-Men were back in the day when Kitty Pryde first joined the team, being a young individual, going through puberty or whatever the case may be, then discovering you've got powers and having to utilize those powers. That's basically what this is. Now, the issue is this girl isn't a mutant because I doubt she has the X gene, but
Mm.
she's got some of her father's powers and abilities that she's just now discovering and using. What I will say is that I am enjoying it. Issues 1 and 2, I have enjoyed. The only problem that I have is we're spending, as comic book collectors, we're spending more on comics and getting less content.
Yeah.
It just, there wasn't enough story to me in issue number 2. Um, I enjoyed it. I am enjoying it. I'm gonna keep collecting it, but we need more meat in the story. And I'm not gonna, because this just came out. I'm not gonna spoil it or anything. But I will say that I am enjoying Daughter of Blade Bloodline. It's a good
Yes,
one.
sir. Yes, sir. Next up, we have the dude I like to call Cap Falcon. Why is he not on my list here? Here we go.
Sam Wilson. Sam Snap Wilson.
Now, this is the second time that Sam Wilson has taken up the mantle of Captain America. I like the first. I loved, in fact, the first run of Captain America Sam Wilson. That storyline, I forget who the writer was. Damn, why am I not remembering that? I don't remember. It might have been Bendis. I don't remember who the writer was. But that was a very well-written story. I love the fact that it dealt with a lot of the themes that you saw in the Falcon and Winter Soldier television show of why would a black man put on Captain America's mantle, and what are the ramifications? How do people react to Captain America suddenly being black? Because these issues this wasn't raised as an issue when John Walker took up the mantle, or when Bucky took up the shield. It really sort of comes to a head when Sam Wilson, who is known for a very long time as Cap's partner, takes up the shield. That was a great run. So, but it's a run that ran its course, where ultimately Sam decides to go back to being Falcon, when a lot of it had to do with, Captain America turning evil, which is a storyline I don't think anybody really liked all that much. But
that was the Secret Empire storyline, right?
Yeah.
God, that sucked.
Yeah, I mean, nobody liked that. But I think it ran its course. Like he had his run where he got to say, I was Captain America. I'm worthy. Make that self-discovery of I'm worthy to be Captain America if I so choose. But he's Falcon. He's got his own power set. I mean, he doesn't need to be Captain America. I'd almost prefer that instead of making Sam Wilson Captain America, there are two Patriots in the Marvel universe, right? You got two guys who are already Captain America, black Captain Americas in training. Why not simply elevate one of them to Captain America, make a young Captain America, and have the mentor be Falcon? So instead of Captain America and Falcon, have it be Falcon and Captain America as a series. And then you can do that same mentoring thing that you have going on, where Captain America Sam Wilson is presently mentoring Falcon, played by
Anthony Mackie.
No. The Hispanic.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Joaquin. I forget his last name.
Yeah.
But that being said, this is written by Tochi Onyebuchi, art by R.B. Silva. And I tell you what immediately grabs me about this series is the art. R.B. Silva's art is really crisp, clean, bold. The colors pop off the page, and it's very cinematic. And this artist is dope. He could literally draw any series. Really, really dope artwork.
For those who haven't picked it up yet, if you are a Black Panther fan, this book ties into the Black Panther world of Wakanda. I'm not going to say universe, but kind of storyline. So you have to start at issue 1 to understand what all is going on.
Nick Spencer. Thank you, Steve Cole. Appreciate that. Nick Spencer was the writer.
So, yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying the book. I'm glad I'm picking it up. I've been a Captain America fan for an extremely long time. I am not reading Sentinel of Liberty, the other one with Steve Rogers. I have no desire to do that anymore. I used to collect Iron Man. I'm not doing that anymore. So those are basically the two books that I used to collect on the regular, Captain America and Iron Man, that I'm no longer collecting. And I don't know if it has anything to do with both of those characters now no longer in the MCU. I don't know. It's interesting. But when those books pop back up, I'm like, I'm good on them. I don't need
That's actually a good point that you raised. The characters that are no longer in the MCU have been de-emphasized in the comics. I never really thought about that.
Well, I
hell,
mean, Steve Rogers has his own book. It's just that me as a collector, I'm no longer interested in Steve Rogers in his own individual title.
He does have his own title, but it's tied into this storyline with Sam Wilson.
Okay, like I said, I haven't read it.
So both these books are tied together, and they're going to culminate because this was the last issue of this series. And Captain America, Steve Rogers, what's it called? Sentinel of Freedom or something? Sentinel of Liberty. That also is having its last issue, and they're going to culminate in a new series called Captain America Cold War, where the two of those guys come together.
Sam and Steve.
Sam and Steve and Bucky is going to, I believe the solicit said Bucky's going to be the antagonist in that storyline.
The antagonist?
He's going to be the antagonist. Yeah, he's going to be the bad guy.
Interesting.
So.
Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt. 63-56, we won.
We won?
Yep.
Go Canes.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
It's all about the U.
It's all about the U, baby.
So, yeah, it's a good... I personally am enjoying the book. Hold on. Just brought all the Steve Rogers books for half off. I'm definitely checking out Cold War. It's only a 6-issue crossover. I mean, I had no idea. I don't read.
Is that Amir? Amir, dude, where have you been, man? Shout out to Amir Wanzer with 1 in 100 podcast.
Right. I'm going to pick it up now knowing that it exists or is about to exist. I'm now interested in it, so I will check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only criticism I have for this series has to do with, and you might know what I'm about to say, the fight that Sam Wilson had with T'Challa in I think it was issue 3 or something.
3.
I mean, T'Challa is wearing his full
It's how suit. T'Challa is supposed to be.
He's wearing his full suit. He has his powers, his heart-shaped herb. He's presumably not wounded. And he goes up against Sam Wilson, who's wearing a football jersey, jeans, and sneakers. Sam Wilson goes toe-to-toe with T'Challa. It didn't make any sense. He punched T'Challa in the gut, and T'Challa crumbled over while he's wearing his vibranium suit that absorbs bullets and blasts.
That absorbs kinetic energy, yeah.
Correct. So getting punched by Sam Wilson, although Sam may be a strong guy, didn't make sense that would cause him to double over in pain.
Yeah.
And he fought T'Challa, who's an enhanced human. Sam Wilson has no superpowers. He fought him toe-to-toe.
He has power with birds.
He has no physical superpowers for enhanced strength, speed, as T'Challa has. So I didn't like that. And they brought that up again in this issue where Sam Wilson, who's fighting the bad guy in this, I'm not going to give away the story.
Not too much spoilers.
But he basically says, look, I fought T'Challa with nothing but T-shirt and jeans while T'Challa was in his full suit. And I took that dude to task. Yeah. Now I'm in my full suit. What do you think I'm going to do to you?
That shouldn't have happened. What I will say is that that's the way I like T'Challa to be, other than the physical aspect of it. The way that the writer has T'Challa speaking and acting, that's more in line with the 50 plus years of history of the character, other than what some other writer in volume 8 has done. So that's the one thing that I did appreciate about it. That physical part, yes, I do agree with that.
C. Cole says it was Ridley's version, not Priest and Hudley's version. On this show, C. Cole, we do not refer to the outlaw American writer John Ridley. He has outstanding warrants from the country of Wakanda, and we will hunt down this man and bring him to justice someday. Thank you very much. You may continue with your show.
Next book.
Next book we have is, what is our next book? So we just did an interview on this. Icon versus Hardware. Looky here, looky here, looky here. Let me tell y'all something. Milestone's kicking out right now is so fire. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out our website. Look at the interview that we did with Reggie Hudlin, Dennis Cowan, and Leon Chills, the writers of Icon and Hardware, Icon versus Hardware. In this story, it's a time travel story in which Curtis Metcalf, Hardware, finds technology that has been lost in time, lost to time. Technology that was created, retrofitted, so to speak, retro engineered by Benjamin Banneker, the African American scientist, brilliant Leonardo da Vinci of his time, who took some of Icon's alien technology and retro engineered it and made a time machine. And it sort of beggars the question, what other technology did Benjamin Banneker create that has been hidden throughout, history? Something I brought up to them when I interviewed them and pointed out this would be a whole series by itself, tracking down technology that Benjamin Banneker made, and ends it that he's actually this Leonardo da Vinci of his time, and people just go and track down this technology. Just thought it was a dope concept. Brilliant writing by
A
Reggie
national
Hudlin.
treasure type book.
Exactly, a national treasure type book with regard to technology Benjamin Banneker made. Um, so shout out to Reggie Hudlin for always trying to find ways to infuse Black history in his stories. Just brilliant. I love stuff like that.
Here's the thing. I love Reginald Hudlin as a writer. He's my 1A writer on Black Panther. In this story, and I liked his writing on other milestone books, like he did Icon and Rocket, right?
Yes.
And there was something else that he did, which I really enjoyed. This book, for me, though, was somewhat confusing at times, the way the panels were laid out. It didn't flow naturally the way my eye is accustomed to going, left, right, up, down, or whatever the case may be. There were certain dialogue, certain panels that seemed to be confusing, and it's like, okay, who's talking? Is this modern day person? Is this other person? It was confusing to me. Let me just put it that way. I'm not saying that I hated it because I didn't. Um, it was just, I would just say it was confusing. I am looking forward to seeing the other subsequent issues to see where the story goes and how they clean that up, perhaps. But yeah, that's the one thing that I'll say about issue one for me is that it was confusing. Didn't hate it.
Check out the interview I did. There are going to go to some wild places in the storyline, and the milestone universe is going to be changed significantly as a result of the storyline. If you're a fan of milestone comics, you're going to want to keep reading and collecting this series.
How many books are they putting out right now? They had Icon of Rocket, they had Static, they had Hardware, and then they had the other one,
Blood Syndicate.
Blood Syndicate. Those four. Those
Yeah,
are the only.
those were all season one. So right now, what they're cranking out is this Icon versus Hardware book. There's the Static Shadows of Dakota, which we'll talk about in a second. Excuse me. And next week is the Milestone 30th anthology book, which is coming out, which is as I said, it's an anthology book that celebrates the 30th anniversary of Milestone. It's got several stories in them. I've actually read the book already. If you're a fan of Milestone, the Milestone universe, this is a must-have book for you because it's a celebration of that universe. Subsequent to that, there's also going to be a special, a crossover, I don't know, team book special. Static and Anansi are going to have a one-shot special, which is the Anansi is the character that you saw from Static Shock cartoon. That'll be coming out in, I think, May. So Milestone's cranking out a lot of books right now. Can't say
I'm
enough.
I'm upset with myself not realizing or recognizing just how important Milestone was
Duo's
back
the
in
other
the
book.
day.
Thank you, Nicole.
Basically, you have a a collection of Black creatives turning out these works. And at the time, back in the 90s, I didn't realize how groundbreaking or significant that was. And as much as I like cartoons, I never watched a Static Shock cartoon. For me, he was one of the background characters in Justice League. So, yeah. Paracelsus.
So
I don't know.
next book up that we have is Mr. Barnes's Killadelphia.
I love this book so much.
I think that's the only thing we can call him at this point is Mr. Barnes.
Yeah.
I can't even say Rodney Barnes. I have to call him Mr. Barnes.
This is a really good book. Jason Alexander's art always kills it, no pun intended. For those who don't know, Killadelphia is not a capes and cows superhero book. It's a book about mythology. It's a book about vampires, werewolves, and somewhat the occult. And I absolutely love it. The only thing that I will say, because this goes back to issues 1 through whatever, basically vampires have taken over the city of Philadelphia. And you've got some other supernatural entities trying to take back Philadelphia from those vampires who've taken it over. Along with the vampires who've taken it over, they're being led by certain people from American history without going into it. It's a very, very interesting concept. I love it. One of the characters that keeps making an appearance in these books is Anansi. And Anansi is an African god, a trickster god. Just think an African Loki. And the way Mr. Barnes, he got me saying this now, the way Rodney Barnes writes Anansi, I am really interested in reading a story about Anansi. And I've hit him up on Twitter several times saying, yo, dude, let's get a 6-12 issue limited series just about Anansi. You know, comic books are littered with mythology of, you know, gods, people we would call gods or ancient civilizations call gods. That's what Thor is. Thor was a god, the god of thunder. Hercules, Zeus, Wonder Woman to a certain degree, even though she's a new god, no pun intended. These were their comic books. These were their mythologies. These were their religions. And we don't see enough of African religions in comics, not through the main big 3 comic book companies, the big 3 being Marvel, DC, and Image. I know that there are some independent comic book companies out there. There's one that starts with an A, and I can't remember the name of it. And they've got their gods in it. And I know
Are you talking about Advent Comics?
I think that might be it. I think it's Advent. And they've got Black superhero characters who may be based on African deities. But Anansi being an African deity, I would like to see that. You know, I'm a huge Thor fan. You know, Hercules is really cool. I would just like to see that part of the world get its shine as well. And again, the way Rodney writes him, it makes me interested to see what he has done, where did he come from, what's his power set, et cetera, et cetera. But and the way this book was written, the way issue 28 was written, made me wonder: is this the end of the run? Is this it, or are there going to be more? Or do you know?
There are going to be more, but this was sort of the end of this particular storyline.
Yeah, and this storyline has been going on for like 2 years because we're on issue 28 now, and it was good. It was good. It was really good.
You mentioned the Orishas, right? The African gods. There was an announcement made this week, particularly by John Jennings, that Megascope Abrams Arts is going to be releasing an English version of a Portuguese comic book, which I'm going to show you here. It's going to be called, I think it's called Meet the Orishas. This is the sort of Portuguese version. This is a mock concept they initially had, but this is going to be turned into an English comic book, English language comic book.
Who's
It
the
has
artist? I'm sorry to interrupt you. This is very Kirby-esque. Who's
that
the
was
artist?
intentional. It's intentional.
Right. No, I'm sure. Who's the artist though?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think it's someone by the name of Canuto.
Okay.
He's from Brazil.
Okay.
Hugo Canuto is the name. So that be on the lookout for that book. It comes out, I believe, in September.
That
And
I'm interested in.
this
This
is
I'm interested in.
here's the Captain America figure. They've got the Thor figure, and all of these are. And, here's the Thor figure here with his hammer.
That guy's Iron Man,
Yeah,
probably.
all these are based on African Orishas, West African Orishas. So it's kind of a dope concept.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to that now, having never known that it existed up until this point. You want to read
So
some
the next,
comments that we've got so far?
let's see. Greg Anderson does a comic book series with African gods. What's it called, Sequel? Greg Anderson, Alissi is the actual writer. Oh, yes, that's right. Greg Alissi has a book called Is Nana the Were Spider, which is kind of a Anansi character as well. So yeah, there's the books. The books are out there, but you're not going to find too much of that with the big three, or I should say more the big two, because obviously Killadelphia is by Image. But certainly Marvel or DC aren't going to do a whole bunch of stuff on that, unfortunately.
What's crazy is, going back to the Thor comic is, if you've watched this our live for any period of time, you would know that for the longest time, Thor was my favorite character. And back in the 80s, maybe not, yeah, back in the 80s, they have the Sky Fathers get together and battle the Swords. And then they had African gods as part of the Sky Fathers. And so
The
that was
Pantheon.
the first time that I recall. I can't remember. Right, it's part of the Pantheon. The Sky Fathers are basically the lead of each pantheon. So you had Zeus, you had Odin, you had whoever from the different pantheons throughout the world. And there was an African god there. That was the one and only time that I ever recall seeing that character. And it would have been nice,
Yeah,
as a black kid, to have been
Shango.
able to see Shango, right. It would have been nice to be able to see that character ongoing, but he was a one-off, maybe a two-off, because that was the only time I remember seeing him. He may have popped up other times, but they have all these other deities that are out there that are part of the Marvel 616, but Marvel doesn't do anything with them. So
yeah, C. Cole mentions a book that came out about 2 years ago called Jim Henson's Storyteller, and I believe they also had an Anansi story in that one as well.
Yeah.
The book that Marc is talking about, or introduce the African god Shango, was, I believe, Thor Annual 10.
10 or 11.
I have it.
Like that.
I could probably bring it up here. Good book to have in your collection.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember what happened in that book, because quite frankly, I probably haven't read it since I bought it 40 years ago. I just, remember some of the art in it. I remember vaguely the story where you had a tomb or something like that. What was the name? Because he was a god eater basically, and it was some big story. I haven't read it in so long. I vaguely remember it.
This is the book. It's Thor Annual number 10.
10. Okay.
First time you see the West African god Shango as part of the, how'd you call them, Sky Fathers, the pantheon of
the pantheon, right?
Gods.
In the Thor comic books, the Sky Fathers are basically like the Illuminati of Earth-based deities, where you have the head deity of a pantheon come together to deal with threats that face planet Earth. And they typically come together, the times that they've come together was basically dealing with the Celestials, who are clearly more powerful than the Earth-based pantheon. So, yeah. But yes, I do have that annual. What year did it come out? 82?
Let's sec. Came out 1982. Yeah, October 1982.
I've not read that book since it came out. So
it's also the first appearance of the Demigorge,
Demigorge.
and the first full appearance of Apollo.
Of who?
Apollo.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have to reread that, but I haven't read it in 41 years, like literally. So yeah.
All right. Next book we have up is Miles Morales.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Spider-Man, written by our boy Cody Ziegler, Zigman. Miles Morales has been through some trials and tribulations. This villain you see on the cover, the villain's name is Rabble. Without giving Rabble, Rabble. She's a young woman. They didn't say what country her parents were from, but you gather that they're from the Mideast. But she grew up in Brooklyn. She was born and raised in Brooklyn. Again, without giving away spoilers, she is a villain who can control technology. It appears to me that she may actually be a mutant, and her power is to be able to control technology. Her motivations for going after Miles Morales is, how should I phrase this? Extreme, unadulterated pettiness with a hinge of entitlement. It comes to the point where it's almost like that is so stupid why your motivations are. But it works. It works. Because it's so petty, the way that she then takes her pettiness to the extreme makes you hate her as a character. So by the time you read the end of this book, you're like, man, I hope Miles just beats the crap out of this villain. And just, it's that's what I can say about this. I love this series. One of the things I loved about the series is the fact that, let me find it. Miles has a mentorship in this. He is being mentored by none other than Marvel's first African-American superheroine, Misty Knight. So Misty has taken Miles under her wing. And Misty she calls him, it's like this running joke that he is her intern. She's a detective, a private detective / security expert, or security person for hire. And if you recall the storyline from Daredevil in the Marvel Universe right now in New York where Miles lives, heroes are outlawed. It's illegal to be a superhero. So every time Miles swings around New York, he gets in trouble with the superhero task force that the NYPD has. So how he gets out of this one particular situation is the fact that he's working as an intern for a private detective. And that's how he's able to continue his superheroing duties with Misty mentoring him. It's just the idea of mentoring to a black superhero mentoring to a younger black superhero. You don't often see that in mainstream comics. So I just think it's a really dope experience to see that. And then having someone who has such a long history like Misty Knight, it's really dope. So I'm enjoying this series. The artwork's spectacular. It's kind of flies off the page. It can be a little busy sometimes, but there's just so much kinetic energy in the artwork.
Speaking of Misty Knight, they have brought Daredevil into the MCU. They're about to reboot the Daredevil franchise.
Shout out Derek.
I wonder if they're going to bring back Misty. And I've heard that they're not bringing back Foggy, nor they're bringing back Karen Page in the new Daredevil series, which I absolutely think is a mistake. I really liked the way Charlie Cox interacts with those two characters specifically.
What's up, Tamiko? Welcome to the chat.
I really wonder if they're going to bring her back.
Karen Page?
No, Misty Knight.
I don't know. I love Simone Missick as Misty Knight.
And people may not realize who her husband is.
I don't know who her husband is. I didn't know she was married. Who's her husband?
Mr. Missick. But and I say that not trying to be funny because I don't remember his first name, but he had like a small role in the Marvel Netflix shows. I want to say his character's name was Roach, but if you see him, you'll know who he
is. The guy who played the little snitch guy?
Yeah, hold on. Not that older guy. I think I know who you're talking about. That older guy was also in House of Cards. If I think who you're talking about. Hold on.
No, I'm talking about the guy who played he's a character in the comics.
His name is Dorian Missick. If you can pull up his picture, and he was, let's see, because he was in the series, I want to say. Yeah, he was in Luke Cage as Dontrell Cockroach Hamilton. Yes.
Oh, this guy.
Yep.
He played a cop on something.
Let's see.
I remember what series was he playing a cop on?
I'm going through his history. He's in a couple episodes of Better Call Saul. So that's Dorian Missick. He's married to Simone. God, they've been married 11 years. Wow. He was a detective in Being Mary Jane. I don't know if that was.
No, that's not the show.
Southland. He was Detective Reuben Robinson in the show Southland. That's probably what you're talking about.
I don't even think that was the show.
Let's see. I'm going through his IMDb now. I want to say he was a background actor in The Best Man. Hold on.
No,
he was in a very, very underrated show called Lucky Number Slevin. Slevin. If you've never seen the movie Lucky Number Slevin, add that to your queue. You've got to watch that movie. Lucky Number Slevin.
Someone says that he was Victor Vance in Grand Theft Auto.
I don't know that. He was a cop in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
He was what?
He was a cop in Buffy.
That's probably what I'm thinking of.
One episode, though. Let's see. Yeah, no. Southland was one where he got the most work as a cop. So maybe that's where you recognized him from.
He's been a cop. You know what it was? He was a cop in Power. He was a dirty cop.
Yes, he's the one. He's the one
that killed Ghost's daughter.
Yes.
He's the one that killed Ghost's daughter. Right. I knew I saw him as a cop somewhere.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yep, he sure was. Hold on, but it's not on here. Hold on. I don't know if that's accurate because I'm going through his IMDb again, and I don't see that on there.
Dude, that's. I don't forget a face. That's got to be the same guy.
No, it's not. It's not on there. It is not on his IMDb.
Character that killed Ghost's daughter. Now it's bothering me. I got to know what it is.
Right. He is in the show For Life.
No, it's a different actor. Shit.
Right. But they look very much similar. Pull up the other actor because I was thinking that at first.
His name is Marcus Callender is the other actor. Heck is that guy? Wow, they look almost identical.
Pull him up. Wow.
They could be brothers.
Yes. I can see why that mistake was made. Yes, they do look similar. Yes, I can see that.
He's the guy who also plays Power on the Wu-Tang show. Wow.
They do look alike,
They could be brothers.
especially that top right picture right there.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, cool. Going on to the next book.
Let's see. Next book. Moseley.
I read episode one. I read issue one. Was not impressed at all. Was on the Twitters, and somebody who I follow was like, "Yeah, issue two was really good." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Okay, I'll check it out. If I don't like it, you owe me $5." Picked it up a couple of weeks ago. Read it. I absolutely did enjoy it. I enjoyed it to the point that I'm now looking forward to the rest of the series. After reading issue one, I didn't care what happened next. Issue two, it may have found its stride, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on. This is kind of like a dystopian universe or a dystopian planet
Right.
where Rise of the Machines, basically. Think
Mhm.
of a benevolent Skynet where human beings are implanted with updates or upgrades to make their lives better. Speaking of upgrades, I'm going to step back here and say this. If you've not seen the movie Upgrade, there's a movie called Upgrade. That movie is phenomenal. You've got to see the movie Upgrade. It made no noise when it came out about 4 or 5 years ago. Very, very, very good movie. But going back to Moseley, issue two was good to the point to me now that I do want to read the rest of the series. After issue one, it didn't hit its stride, but now I think it's pretty good. Now I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the rest of it. It's about a guy who's trying to rage against the machine, for lack of a better phrase. The entire planet is being ruled by machines and technology, and he wants to go back to an analog world. So, it's him against the world, like literally. And it's a brother. So I'm definitely now interested in reading the rest of it. Have you read any of the issues?
Yeah, I read the first issue. I started the second issue, but I had to stop reading it because I had to go do this show. So I have not completed. Thank you for doing a review that did not spoil the rest of the second issue for me.
I do my best never to spoil something that's in it, but yeah,
I have
I'm looking forward to it.
this
There's an
cover.
A story and then there's a B story.
I have this cover for the second issue.
Yeah, that's not my cover. Yeah. And then we got what next?
Next up, we have Static Shadows of Dakota.
I really like Static. I really like Static. I didn't like Hardware. I don't like Hardware. The character, I do like Static a lot.
Let's preface this, everyone. Mark has never read the original Milestone run.
I did. I have. I
not
actually
all of
have,
it. You have not read all of it.
No. I've not read the entirety of Hardware back from the 90s. No.
Right.
I do have several issues. Not a huge fan.
The Hardware he's saying he does not like is the one from this Hardware season 2, the newest iteration version of it.
Right. I'm not impressed.
Because the original Hardware was absolute fire and it's probably my favorite of the Milestone series.
Static I like a lot.
This new version of Static
of Miles Morales. I think he and Miles Morales are similar to me.
I laugh because that's the debate that we talk about all the time. Shout out to my boy Rich, who literally refused to ever get into Miles Morales because he says all Miles Morales is a different version of Static, and there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah. I'm not. That's all I'll say on that. There's a lot of similarities between Miles Morales and Static.
And I like Static. I really am enjoying.
Look, I imagine that you would really like this version of Static, in large part because of the art. Because I know that you're a big anime fan, and as is this artist Nicholas Draper Ivy, who we interviewed last month. Check out the website for the interview. But he's a huge anime fan, and it really shows in this particular season's artwork that he's done. He's amped up his artwork
And you know
from the
what?
season 1 to season 2.
The artwork is fine. That's not what gets me. It's the story.
Really?
Yeah. What's old boy's real name? What's Static's real name?
Virgil Hawkins.
Virgil comes from a nuclear family, a very supportive nuclear family.
As an aside, Mark and I are both our daytime jobs are as attorneys. Virgil Hawkins, the name Virgil Hawkins, comes from the very first African American to seek to go to law school in University of Florida. In Florida, it actually caused a huge Supreme Court case because back during segregation, blacks weren't allowed to go to law school, and he sought admission to the University of Florida, was rejected, and they had to address the policies of segregation, which ultimately led to a black law school being challenging the segregation of law school. So he's a big deal. Shout out to Dwayne McDuffie for, as Milestone does, looking at Black history and incorporating it in their books. They've been doing that since day one, 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I hate the fact that I missed out during the heyday of when this was going on. I just did not realize the significance of it at the time. But going back to the book, it's not the art that gets me, it's the story. Virgil comes from a very traditional family. He's got a mother, he's got a father. He's not the product of, a side chick having a baby or, some dude going off and having a baby on an island in Haiti or something along those lines. He has a mother.
That sounds like a very specific. That's a very specific
I'm just throwing stuff out there. I'm just throwing stuff out there. He's got a mother. He's got a father. He's got a sister, and they know who he is. They know what he does, and they're supportive. And so, one of the things that we've talked about in this space a lot is that there are very limited Black superhero families. Now, Virgil doesn't come from a superhero family. He's the only one with powers, but he's part of a family. And I think that as a Black person, that's something that we need to see more of. I mean, when you think about it, you've got Luke Cage. Okay. Luke Cage is not even married, but he's got a baby with a white chick. Absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But he's not a family. He's not in a relationship with a Black woman. Misty Knight was dating Danny Rand, a white boy. Nothing wrong with that. You have T'Challa. Love T'Challa. He had Monica Lynn. He was married to Storm. That's one. You had what's my boy over in DC? Bumblebee and
Mal Duncan.
I don't know if they ever got them married in recent
times. They
did.
In one of the various iterations of DC, which crises, they got married and had kids, but that universe, I believe, was wiped away in one of the crisis events.
And if you're not watching Young Justice, you should really watch Young Justice. But in Young Justice, I want to no, it's not her. But anyway, the point that I'm making is you don't see a lot of Black nuclear family units in comics that I can think of off the top of my head. And that's one of the things that I, as a Black man, appreciate about Static. Not only is he dealing with the powers that he got as a bang baby, but interacting with his mom and dad and them being concerned about his safety. Same thing with Miles Morales. He's got a nuclear family as well. We don't see it that often, so that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate Static personally.
Yeah, one of the things that Louisiana Kid just mentioned, he says he can't wait to see what they're going to do with Eben and Rubber Band Man. These are Eben is a character from the Static Shock cartoon series from the 90s. It's really cool that Milestone's acknowledging its cartoon past and incorporating these characters, which Dwayne McDuffie created or co-created, and bringing them into the comic books, making it part of Milestone canon. Eben was that sort of his nemesis, and Milestone, Static having an updated nemesis other than Hot Streak. This is kind of cool because Eben is that dude, huh?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. I was just thinking Hot Streak hasn't made his appearance since Volume 1 of the current iteration of Static.
That's not accurate. He was in he was the guy who attacked the school.
An issue.
This
what I'm saying is this: they not relaunch, but this is quote unquote Volume 2 of the most recent incarnation of Static. The guy we're talking about was not in issue number 1, is what I'm saying in this. He was in the other one, yes, but not this latest incarnation over the past 2 months. That's all I was saying. But yes, he was the one who attacked the school.
C. Cole says Bumblebee and Harold are still married with a kid in DC right now.
Where do they make an appearance?
That's a very good question because I haven't seen it.
Right. I'm collecting more DC now than I ever have before in my life. Where are Bumblebee and Mal? I have no idea.
Yeah. Since the New 52 in 2011, I'm trying to remember when I've ever seen Mal Duncan and Bumblebee. I personally don't. If you know, then please let us know. I personally haven't seen them.
I haven't either. And like I said, I'm collecting more DC than I ever have before. Storm Day, don't do that. Delete that. Don't.
Oh, that's not cool. Anyway, so this is a dope book. Really enjoyed this book.
Yes.
The artwork is spectacular. The story is engaging. I like the slow build to the introduction of Eben. It makes him seem even more menacing. He's kind of lurking in the shadows and saying very sinister things and doing sinister things and building the anticipation of his full-blown confrontation with Static. So good storytelling. That's world building. That's storytelling. Hats off to Nicholas Draper Ivy, Vidi Ayala on revamping this character for the 21st century.
See, until this very moment, I had no idea that that's who they're building towards.
Yeah. So I also like the fact that I'm sure they've gotten some feedback from fans, so to speak, about making Virgil more lighthearted. He's a very lighthearted guy.
I'm still here, but go ahead.
Okay. You don't want to know what he's doing behind closed doors off camera. But Virgil's always been a very lighthearted character. He's been a nerdy, super brain, genius, geeky kid with lots of pop culture references, which is very endearing to nerdy fans like myself. And they brought a lot of that back into his character this season. So I truly appreciate that. H-Town Boss says, Marvel needs to retcon Blue Marvel's baby mother because his family could be a black powerhouse if done right. His children are pretty interesting. Yes, but Blue Marvel's children are pretty powerful. His son's pretty powerful. I don't know if that requires a retcon. Blue Marvel doesn't really age. He has a relationship with Monica Rambeau, or he had one. What would be interesting to see is if they were to, bring Monica and Blue Marvel back together and have them have a kid. That would literally be, huh?
Blue Marvel's kids have powers?
His son does, yeah.
Where was that displayed? Because I don't recall seeing that.
That was in the Ultimates.
I have no recollection of that.
Yeah. His son's a genius as well. He has powers. Anyway, so if Blue Marvel and Monica Rambeau were to be put back together, because right now they apparently broken up per this book, Photon, that would be really dope for them to have a kid. Let's see. What's our next book?
Vineyard. By our boy Brian Hawkins. Shout out to Brian Hawkins.
This is the final issue of this series.
Right.
Um, what are your thoughts?
I was interested in the book because it was different. Basically, you have a black family, mother, father, son, and an estranged daughter who own a vineyard, I want to say, in the Virginia area. The father and son believe in the Greek god Dionysus. They pray to him. There are certain things that they do to get Dionysus to bless their vineyard with the bountiful crop. Issues 1 through 3 were interesting. It was entertaining. I do like the art. I think it left on a sour note. All due respect to Brian, who it's cool. He's a friend of us and this page and our on our channel or whatever. It just the conclusion to me was lacking something. I don't necessarily like how issue 4, I think it's 4. Yeah, I don't like necessarily how issue 4 ended. It was an interesting
You think
story.
they'll do it? He'll continue it.
I don't know. I mean,
I mean, that was my interpretation of the ending, is that it left the door open for him to
well, right.
continue.
That's what I was about to say. The way it ended, it leaves the door open for more issues. It just, I don't know. The ending left me flat to a certain degree. Now, Paul and I have discussed in this space before a book called Eve. Eve just recently had its second iteration. There was an Eve that came out last year. It was between 4 and 6 issues. Once again, about a post-apocalyptic world. Issues 1 through whatever the last issue was were fine, but the way it culminated, it left something lacking. And for me, Vineyard does that as well. The book does remind me, though, of another book by Paul Tobin called Bunny Mask, which I really enjoyed. Bunny Mask has had 2 like 4 or 6 issue runs, and it's very good. But it had that feel to me. This is not one of those books that is a capes and cows. It is not a superhero story. It's somewhat of an occult type book, and I'm getting more into that over the past few years. Um, it was an interesting story. Bunny Mask has had 2 quote unquote volumes, 4 issues each. Pick up Bunny Mask and pick up Vineyard, because I think you'll see what I'm talking about how they seem similar in a certain way. Brian's other book, Devil's Dominion, I absolutely loved. I really like Devil's Dominion. Love Black Cotton, which I missed tremendously. I don't know if we're
Yeah, I
ever going to
think
get
it's
any
coming
more of
back. When it comes back, it's going to be color this time.
that. Okay. I mean, I'm accustomed to the black and white, but okay. Um, I love Brian's writing on Black Cotton. I loved Devil's Dominion. This one, issue 4 specifically, to me, it's missing something. I don't know what specifically, but it's missing something. But overall, I didn't hate it. I just didn't necessarily like the way it culminated. That's what I'll say.
The ending was open ended, and it left you wanting for more. So if he's going to fulfill that by continuing the series, then it was a good ending. Let's go to some of the comments that we have here. Um, let's see. DC Power anthology that came out last month. So apparently DC Power, C. Cole saying that the DC Power anthology, I forgot about that, had a small storyline with Mal Duncan and Bumblebee and a daughter. So
I
assuming
have
of
that, haven't read it.
that's assuming that the anthology is canon. I don't know. I don't know if it is or not, but assuming it is, then that would probably be I believe the first time in a while. Other than that, they have not been seen since Teen Titans Hunt. I have Teen Titans Hunt, and I don't think I've read it. I've had a couple issues of that. Is that around New 52 time as well?
I'm not sure.
That's interesting. And a correction, he corrects me on I said it was Ultimates where Blue Marvel's son is. It's actually Mighty Avengers.
I have Mighty Avengers, and I have no independent recollection of his son being in it.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely has a son. That was the whole thing.
No, I mean, I know he's got kids. I just don't remember them popping up outside of his own book.
The Vineyard trade comes out in August and is FOC this week.
What is FOC?
What did you just say?
What is FOC? What does that mean?
Final order cutoff. It's the last day you have to order a book. To pre-order a book, I should say. It's funny you should bring that out.
You mentioned while you're doing whatever you're doing, you mentioned an anthology a moment ago in DC. A book that I should have mentioned previously, but I forgot to, is Marvel Voices Wakanda Forever. It is another anthology series. And in this book, it has about 5 or 6 different stories. The first of which is the T'Challa story by
I was looking for a commercial on pre-orders, but
right.
Derek, you got things so confusing in this thing, it's impossible to find anything anymore.
The first story is a T'Challa story called The Always by Karama Horn. And this is about 8 or 9 pages of a story about T'Challa. These 8 or 9 pages are better than the entirety of the last run of Black Panther.
That's not even an exaggeration.
And I hit up the writer on Twitter, and I explained that to her. I expressed that to her, I should say, and she was very grateful in that. The artist on this was Aletha Martinez. Loved the art. I know we didn't discuss this prior, but while we're talking, if you could perhaps bring that up. The Marvel Voices Wakanda Forever is a good pickup. It's got several different Wakanda-related, T'Challa-related stories in it, and it is very good. Now, this character right here is Sion. This is T'Challa's uncle, the brother of T'Chaka, T'Challa's father, obviously. When T'Challa died...
That doesn't sound like Sterling K. Brown's character.
Right. In the comic books, Sion took over, and I know I'm pronouncing that incorrectly probably, but when T'Chaka was murdered, he took over as the ruler of Wakanda and Black Panther, because at the time, T'Challa was a youth. He was probably like 10, 11 years old. Then he went on his walkabout, was trained all over the world, came back, challenged his uncle during Challenge Day, and ended up defeating him, thus becoming the ruler of Wakanda and donning the mantle of Black Panther. I didn't realize or remember that Sion was killed in Marvel 616. Because I was asking Paul a couple of days ago about it. I'm like, yo, where is this dude? He was killed during, you said, Doom War? I
believe it was Doom War, the Doom War storyline.
Right. I haven't read that book in 15, 16 years since it came out, and I didn't remember that. After Doom War, in the Doom War storyline, Victor Von Doom basically took over Wakanda to a certain degree and had access to all of Wakanda's vibranium. During the Secret War storyline, it's my understanding that T'Challa made vibranium relevant again. He made it non-inert. During the Doom War storyline, T'Challa made it inert. During the Secret War storyline, he made it more valuable again.
Yeah, when he reset the 616 universe, Wakanda's in Secret Wars, specifically issue number 9, when he had the Infinity Gauntlet, Wakanda had its vibranium back.
Right. And it's surprising that, if you've got that type of power, that you don't bring your uncle back. And he apparently didn't do that. So
He did not bring anyone back from the dead, or else he would have brought back his father. He simply restored those things. He basically restored the 616 universe. But there are other things he did not fix, such as his relationship with Storm.
His relationship with Storm was on the way to recovery thanks to Ta-Nehisi Coates, but was once again fractured due to another writer, which makes no sense to me. But you know, that's not.
C. Cole says, I think I got the wrong version of Mighty Avengers. It might have been Captain America and the Mighty Avengers. Yeah, it's fine. That was basically volume 2, basically, of the same run. Austin says, question, have you all heard about Disney maybe retiring the character Black Panther in the future based on the real world event that happened? That's the wrong question to ask, bro. That has been a trending topic on the internet this week, that Disney / Marvel has a secret nefarious plan to get rid of the Black Panther. I've been saying for 2 years, since the announcement by Kevin Feige that they were not going to recast T'Challa, I specifically said on this show many times, if Marvel is consistent with the way that Marvel does things, they're going to have to find a way to sideline, if not kill, the Black Panther in the comics to be consistent with what they have planned for the movie. So in large part, I think the reason Ridley's run, other than the fact that Ridley has his issues, went the way it was part of that concept that Marvel presently has going on of trying to sideline T'Challa as the Black Panther. Moreover, this concept of the mantelization of the Black Panther I think is a large part of that as well. Marvel is trying to expand the concept of Wakanda is more important than the concept of the Black Panther. That's kind of like saying Asgard is more important than Thor in the Marvel universe.
Or Gotham is more important than Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Or Metropolis is bigger than Superman. That's basically the concept of what's going on right now in Marvel. They're trying to say Wakanda as a concept. And here's the thing. I kind of get it. If I'm an exec at Marvel and I'm looking at the numbers and I'm looking at the history and I'm saying, well, look, what is it about Black Panther that's made him so popular? And then you look at the first movie and you look at people dressing up in the costumes and you look at, people all over across the world saying Wakanda forever. They're not saying go Black Panther. They're not saying T'Challa forever. They're saying Wakanda forever. It's a phenomenon, right? That first movie was a phenomenon worldwide. And it sort of encapsulates the spirits and dreams that I think many people in the African diaspora have as to rolling up all of their pride, Black pride, and putting it in this concept of Wakanda. The idea that you have your heritage unfettered by the vestiges of colonialism and slavery. What could we all have been but for, right? That's why I think Wakanda appeals to these casual fans who aren't fans of the comic book. They're just fans of the idea of Wakanda. When they see on that screen the burning Zana, the city, and they see all this advanced technology, and they see Black people being Black people unfettered by racism and colonialism. We was kings. Huh?
We was kings.
We was kings. So when they see all of that, it strikes a chord. It has to. It has to strike a chord with you. Is seeing yourself, your family, your friends in a manner that is unfettered by these things. And so some exec probably said, well, you know what? Black Panther isn't what's driving this. It's the idea of Wakanda that's driving all this. So Chadwick Boseman's gone. But I think what really appeals to people is Wakanda. And if we can mantleize the concept of the Black Panther, we can replace him with somebody else until, you know, the cast is cool with having the character come back, or maybe we switch the cast out or the director. But for now, let's just mantleize it and say it's just a mantle. This whole concept of the mantle of a superhero, were we ever talking about this prior to 2 years ago?
No.
Was there ever talk where did people in comic books or casual fans even know what a mantle was prior to 2 years?
Here's the thing. We as comic book collectors and fans who've been reading comics for generations or for years know that the title of Black Panther moves from person to person. We know this. But in the real world aspect, Wakanda started with T'Challa in 1966. He was the first Black Panther from our perspective. That's the only person that we care about. Okay. Nate Moore, who doesn't read comic books, I don't care what anybody says, Nate Moore doesn't read comic books at all. Okay. He went along with Ryan Coogler's desire to kill off the character because of his emotional attachment to Chadwick Boseman, who, by the way, didn't tell him he was sick and perhaps dying. Okay.
I don't think
So,
that's really relevant, but
well, it is relevant in the
it's not
fact
relevant. Chadwick Boseman kept it from everyone
it is
outside of his immediate
relevant to the
family.
fact that these people are supposedly so connected to Chadwick that
That's
Chadwick was not
embarrassing.
connected to them to the point that he told them that he was dying. I've known Paul for approximately years. If I had a terminal disease, despite the conflict that me and Paul have as friends, I love him. You a I'm dying, okay? He's gonna know about that because of our relationship. The fact that Chadwick didn't tell these people that he had a terminal illness, to me at least, says a lot. I mention that only to the point because these people, being Ryan Coogler specifically, are so torn up about Chadwick's loss that they killed off the character unnecessarily. Okay. And it was allowed to happen because of Nate Moore and Kevin Feige. If they would have said, yo, this character, T'Challa Black Panther, is important in the overall storytelling of the MCU, they would have recast. And if Ryan didn't want to do it, guess what? They would have replaced him, but they didn't do that
Well,
because
this all started with Austin's question. So the short answer to your question, Austin, is I think you just simply need to look at what's happening in the comics to understand the concept of what's happening with the character in a larger sense. There are no T'Challa was just in a very long run, 15 issues. We're not talking like a 6-issue limited series. They gave John Ridley almost a year and a half run of dragging T'Challa in a manner that has been unprecedented in his history. The man took more L's than W's in this run. Beyond all of that, having his kingship stripped away, having him lose all of his friends, even his family, having everything, having him act uncharacteristic. I'm talking about it's T'Challa has been deconstructed before, a few times before. He's had all his powers taken away, and has had his kingship taken away. When he became Black Panther, deadliest man alive, where he took over the Daredevil book and he took over Hell's Kitchen as Hell's Kitchen's protector, he had no powers. He had no resources. He was not king anymore. He was simply a guy in a suit, not even a powered suit with vibranium and all that. He wore a regular cotton suit with a bulletproof vest and knee pads and a mask, and went into the night and fought crime. No different than Batman. He's been deconstructed before. He was deconstructed to the point where he was made a slave with no memory of who he was and worked his way up despite the fact that he had no memory of who he was. So the deconstruction is nothing new. Having his butt whipped by other people is nothing new. So when people say, "Oh, you're just mad because T'Challa fought and lost some fights," he's lost lots of fights. He hasn't lost a fight in every single issue of a run before, which is what Ridley did. He hasn't been spoken to by his own people like he's some dude named Stanley before, in every issue, like has happened in this John Ridley run. So this was more than a deconstruction. This is a sidelining of the character. I don't know what's going to happen to him in the future. I already mentioned earlier in the show about how they even have him getting beat up by Sam Wilson while he's in his full suit with his full powers, and Sam Wilson's wearing a t-shirt and jeans and sneakers. I think the evidence is overwhelming that they're trying to sideline the character. I think it's telling that there is no announcement for a Black Panther 3 movie, and Disney has movies planned up through 2026. There was an announcement or rumor, I think, that the Black Panther or Wakanda series that they're planning may be an animated series rather than a live action one.
I saw that today where what's my man's name? The director, Ryan Coogler, is supposed to be helming some animated Wakanda series on whatever platform. And I'm just going to be frank with you. I have no interest or desire in seeing anything from that dude in reference to this property.
Very good question, Austin. I wasn't trying to disparage you and say that there was something wrong with your question. When I said that's the wrong question to ask, because I knew there's no way I could give you an answer that was short. So for the sake of brevity, it's a wrong sake of time, because I know I spent a lot of time answering your question. But it was actually a very good question. C. Cole says, let's see Tosin or Shuri sell a book that lasts 60 plus issues like T'Challa. At least Gotham Central lasted for 40 issues without Batman. Tamiko says Gotham Central is a well-written book. Mark Robinson, you can have a king and Wakanda. And I call BS on this thought that T'Challa can't exist. Superman died and came back. The X-Men recently died repeatedly and brought back. Well, no one said he can't come back, Mark. The question was, is he being killed in the comics or sidelined or whatever? And we're saying clearly he's being sidelined as a character. And they're emphasizing the idea that literally Marvel has said Black Panther is just a mantle.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me just interject here. In the comic books, T'Challa is not dead and has never died. He has been incapacitated. He's been in a coma. But unlike a lot of superheroes in comics, T'Challa has never died. In the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, they have killed off the character, and whether he will be brought back or not, we don't know. But I think Kevin Feige and Ryan Coogler and Nate Moore have said that they are not going to recast that character. I think this is Ryan Coogler. I have no information whatsoever. This is just a gut feeling. But I think that Ryan Coogler and Nate Moore are driving that decision, and Kevin Feige is just going along with it.
Derek knows me so well. He just called me out.
So I don't know that we will ever see T'Challa again live action. It is an absolute shame. It shouldn't be
no time
that way.
soon.
One of the things that I've said that I wish that they would do is somewhat retcon the MCU and say that the T'Challa that died was a Skrull, which
I've been saying that for
invasion storyline that came out 10, 12 years ago, and it plays. But I doubt that they have the courage to do that, because
let me talk.
They've given Wakanda, they've given the Black Panther world to Ryan, and Ryan doesn't want to do that. So Kevin is just like, done a Pontius Pilate, washed his hands of it, and said, okay, this is your baby, whatever you say goes, which I think is a mistake, because they don't understand or realize how important that character is.
So let me talk about this scroll thing. Um, I know I raised this as a possibility a while ago in these lives. I think I thought it was really interesting when I saw Wakanda Forever. That's where I first thought of this concept. Um, they took away T'Challa's body. They didn't show you what they did with it. They just flew him away. I thought if they were going to do this whole storyline, an easy way to sort of retcon this mysterious death from an ailment from a guy who has a heart-shaped herb which gives him somewhat of a healing factor in the most advanced country of the world, which canonically has a cure for cancer. And yet he died. Makes no sense. It would have made more sense to give him a warrior's death, have him die saving, a cat in a tree or something, than how they had him die in the movie. Fine. So they kill him off, cut off his body. I think what they should have done in a post-credit scene is then show what happened to the body, where his body would, per the comics, be taken to the necropolis where the kings and queens of Wakanda are buried. And they open up his coffin, and it's the body of a Skrull, shriveled up in a Black Panther costume, and he's surrounded by Skrulls. That would have been a great segue to what Marvel has going on for the future of their universe with the Secret Wars storyline they've got coming up, the Secret Invasion storyline. I'm sorry, and also opens the door to recasting T'Challa with another actor in the future. Easy 30-second scene that would have cost them nothing to make, would have solved a lot of people's problems, would have answered all these plot holes. I really think the Skrull thing is a thing. I think because Secret Invasion, because remember what I said before when I said Marvel's going to have to 2 years ago sideline the character to be consistent with what they have in the films. I think because the next films that are coming up is Secret Invasion, there was a major storyline in Secret Invasion where Wakanda is invaded by Skrulls. One of the most brilliant storylines that was done by Jason Aaron was the writer of that storyline. He's always does really good things with Black Panther. I don't be surprised. Mark my words. What are we at? We're at an hour and 42 minutes. Timestamp this. Don't be surprised if that Skrull thing pops up again in the Black Panther's future.
I'm gonna stop you right here. It's not gonna happen. I want it to happen. I wish it should happen. It's not gonna happen because Ryan Coogler has the keys to the Wakanda kingdom. And Ryan Coogler is adamant, with the help of Nate Moore, who doesn't read comic books, that the only person who can play T'Challa is Chadwick Boseman, who, God rest his soul, is dead and gone. It makes sense. It should happen. I will say that it won't happen, and I'll bet a whole $2-3 on that.
I will take that bet. I will bet you $2 to $3 that Marvel, because they have the Secret Invasion storyline coming up, have to somehow incorporate the concepts of Skrulls and the Black Panther in the near future somewhere within the Marvel universe.
I don't disagree with that because they're coming up in Captain America. No. Yeah. What is the series? Captain America.
God. Cold War?
Yeah. Yeah, because Kingsley Ben-Adir plays a lot of Skrulls or whatever the case may be. But no, they're not going to do that to Wakanda because, again, Ryan Coogler has the keys to that kingdom. And he doesn't want anybody else to be T'Challa but Chadwick. And so I'll bet you $3.35 that does not happen.
I'll take the bet.
Bet.
Let's see. C. Cole says, and other books like Bloodline ignores what he who must not be named wrote in Black Panther. He is in the new Avengers book. What's he talking about?
I don't know. Like, Bloodlines is the Blade book, so I don't know how that ties into Wakanda. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Black Panther's not in the Bloodline book.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Louisiana Kid says, I just finished reading the full run of Deathlock, the Demolisher, and didn't know that Todd McFarlane basically stole the origin for Spawn from Deathlock. I mean, turning a dead body into a cyborg and having a demon turning a dead soldier into a hellspawn, I guess, kind of. I don't think it's a bit
I
of
mean,
a...
it's tenuous. There's a tenuous connection, but I don't see it, beat for beat. I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't touch away Odin's son for a second movie because in comic store was Jane Foster. It wasn't Amadeus Joe Hulk during in game. Not Bruce Banner. Listen, see, Cole, you're preaching to the choir. T'Challa should not be dead in the MCU. He just shouldn't be. But
and Tony Stark and Widow are dead in the movies, but still running around in comics.
Right. But here's the thing with those particular characters. Each of them, specifically Tony Stark, had 5+ movies to deal with their character and have a full character arc. T'Challa has not had a full character arc before they killed him off due to the unfortunate, untimely death of Chadwick Boseman. But, whatever. Let's switch gears briefly. We've gone through the comic books that we were going to talk about.
Sequel says in the last page of Bloodline #1, T'Challa does something for Blade, and if he was exiled from Wakanda, he could not do it. Well, I mean, we don't know what.
I'm gonna have to reread that because I don't remember.
We don't know what time period that Bloodline storyline took place.
Yeah,
we don't know.
I don't remember that. But Creed 3. Have you seen Creed 3?
Not yet. Hey, shout out to Lords of the Long Bus. What's up, TiVo? In the building.
What's going on? I have said that John Krasinski, who directed A Quiet Place, had the best rookie outing as a director ever. Right? Like, A Quiet Place was a brilliant film. Now, with that being said, Creed 3, directed by Michael B. Jordan, that movie was very, very, very good. He did a phenomenal job directing that movie. It was very good. I was not as impressed with Creeds 1 and 2. 1 directed by Ryan Coogler, 2 directed by I can't remember. They were okay. The problem was the villains. That's one of the things about the Rocky franchise, is that the person that he's boxing against makes the movie. Creed 1 and 2 was Rocky against Apollo. That's, iconic. 3 was Clubber Lang, Mr. T. Iconic. 4, Ivan Drago, not Val Kilmer. Help me out. What's my man's name?
I'm looking at his face.
Yeah, I can see his face.
The guy from not Sweden. Jesus.
Oh, God.
It starts with doesn't it start with the letter V? No.
That's Victor Drago. Hold on.
No.
Rocky 4. Hold on.
Oh my God! Why can't he's been in so many movies?
I know.
He was married to Sly Stallone's ex-wife.
Yes.
He played Red Sonja. No, I'm sorry. He was not married to her. He was married to Grace Jones.
He didn't marry Grace Jones.
Oh, I was dating Grace Jones. Whatever. Dolph Lundgren. Thank you. Jesus.
Thank you. Dolph Lundgren. God, that was going to
Dolph Lundgren.
Right. He-Man. Yes. He-Man. Yes. Those despite our brain fart not being able to remember immediately Dolph Lundgren, we remember Victor Drago. The characters in Creed 1 and 2 are forgettable to me. Jonathan Majors, who's having a hellified year, he is going to be a memorable
villain.
I'm not going to say villain. He's going to be a memorable opponent to Creed. And Creed 3 was a very, very, very good film. If you've not seen it, it's a very good film. The only criticism that I have, without too many spoilers, is how Jonathan Major's character was able to challenge for the title in the time period. That's the only criticism that I have. I would have appreciated more if it would have taken longer for him to be able to challenge for the title. Other than that, Michael B. Jordan knocked it out of the box. I mean, like, as a director, I'm sorry?
As a director, you mean?
As a director, Michael B. Jordan gets a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Like, as a director, he gets a 10 out of 10. That movie, the pacing, the way the story worked, Michael B. Jordan as a director gets a 10 out of 10. Like I said, his directorial debut, I put it up there with the directorial debut of John Krasinski, A Quiet Place. And A Quiet Place was a great movie. I only have very slight criticisms of the story, which was written by Ryan Coogler. So, take that for what it's worth. But as a director, Michael B. Jordan did a great
You really got beef with Ryan Coogler at the moment, don't you?
I mean, other than writing the movies, he probably should have gone to therapy because he wrote his grief into Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
I can't even debate you on that because he kind of did. Louisiana Click clarified his analogy between Deathlock and Spawn. Deathlock was dead for 5 years. Spawn was dead for 5 years. Deathlock best friend married his wife. Spawn's best friend married his wife. Both had an evil general trying to control them. You might have a point.
Have you guys been reading Savage Avengers? If you have not been reading Savage Avengers, keep Miles Morales and Deathlock in mind. So
I'm going to take another look. I mean, I haven't read Deathlock the Demolisher in 30 years. I mean, I'll take a look at it again, Louisiana Kid. You might have a point.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Bloodsport says Showdown in Little China and Universal Soldier. Are you talking about other movies Dolph Lundgren's been in? I know he was in Universal Soldier.
I don't know about Showdown in Little China.
I don't remember him in Showdown in Little China. Oh, yes, with Bruce Lee's son.
Brandon Lee?
I forgot about that.
I've not seen that, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that's right. Other movies he's done.
But no, we know Dolph Lundgren. We know his works. We just couldn't
remember his name.
Yeah.
Jordan is to Coogler to what Greg Grunberg lost in Alias and Star Wars is to J.J. Abrams. Guys who are always doing projects together. Yeah, they've done a lot of projects together. Creed 3 was actually written by Ryan's brother.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But I mean, it was a good story. It was a very good story. I liked the movie. I liked the boxing in it. It was good. It was really good.
Bloodsport I saw and when it was released. Well, so did I. We're that's just saying that you're old. We're old too. I saw it in the theaters too.
I've never even heard of Showdown in Little China. I've never even heard of that before.
Yeah.
Now, are you gonna go see switching gears, are you gonna go see Shazam?
Fury of the Gods?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to go to the theaters to see that. I saw the trailer. I wasn't all that enthusiastic about it.
I'm very looking forward to it. I'm probably going to go see it tomorrow after the gym.
I have other things. I'd see Creed before I see that.
Yeah, I'm going to go see it.
I just watched Avatar the other day, the second one.
I saw Avatar about a month ago. I enjoyed it. James Cameron can make a good movie. He can make a beautiful looking movie.
I'll tell you what I want to watch this weekend is that Amazon show Swarm.
Yeah. Have you seen Riches?
No. The Riches?
Riches. Riches. If you have Amazon Prime, watch Riches.
Is that with the family of con artists?
That's Kaleidoscope.
No, there's a show called The Riches. Had Eddie Izzard in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
No.
He's transitioning.
Yes, he is.
which I had no idea about. But Riches is about a beauty company in England run by black folks. The star of the show is this young lady whose name I can't remember right now. Riches on Amazon Prime. You gotta watch Riches. And if you like Riches, there's a show on Netflix called Savage Beauty. These are two black shows basically about the same thing, about beauty companies run by a paterfamilias who is very strong, domineering, whatever the case may be. Riches on Amazon Prime, Savage Beauty on Netflix. Highly recommend both. I think the last time you and I had our show, we discussed My Dad, the Bounty Hunter, right?
Yeah, that was a dope show. My whole family watched that. That was a good.
I don't know if a lot of people discuss that show, but My Dad, the Bounty Hunter was a very good black centric animated show. Very good show.
Dino agrees with you. He says Riches is a dope movie.
It's a series, but yes, Riches is dope. Yes.
TiVo says Avatar has been in theaters for what seems like 6 months. Yeah, it has.
9 months. I'm joking. But yeah.
Louisiana Kid says, I just watched Ant-Man 3 and I was extremely underwhelmed and I'm not interested in Shazam 2 at all. Do you all think comic book movies have reached their full potential and eventually coming to an end? No.
Not anytime soon, but it runs in cycles. I mean, cowboy movies, westerns ran Hollywood for like 40 years, you know? So there's a lot of stuff that has to be mined or that can be mined in comic book movies. It just has to be done well. You know,
yeah, I think the key to ensuring, the Marvel universe or comic book movies in general is recognizing the fact that there are different facets to Marvel Comics, right? You have your street level crime, you've got your superhero stuff, your sort of grander scale Avengers type stuff. You've got your cosmic universe, you have your mystical universe, you have your horror universe. You have the comedic side of Marvel. Marvel was smart in exploring all of these various aspects. What their problem is now is, they had this Infinity Saga, which was focused on, this main theme, and they used that main sort of storyline to branch off into these other areas. But all of those different facets, whether it be Guardians of the Galaxy exploring the cosmic side or Doctor Strange doing the mystical side, there still was a tie to the central root, which was the Infinity Saga. This current phase doesn't have a central root that people can identify. Marvel specifically has tried to go away from the concept that all of their properties have to be tied to the Infinity Saga. So in this new phase, they're saying all of their stories don't have to be tied to this current. I mean, does anyone really know what this current saga is about? In the first one, you had the Infinity Stones. You're kind of figuring out that there's a Power Stone eventually in all of these storylines. And at the very least, you knew in the background Thanos was coming, right? In this current universe, we don't really know much. We now think Kang is kind of the central part of it. But other than the fact that there's a multiverse, we don't really know much beyond that. And so it looks a little disjointed as this current phase. I think Marvel's strength will be in exploring these other nooks and crannies of the universe. They could literally do a whole phase that just focuses on horror. I think the horror stuff is what's really hot right now. If you even in comics, horror comics are having the biggest resurgence of all the different genres in comics right now. And Marvel has a very good horror / mystical side that can be explored all by itself. I've been waiting, several years now for Brother Voodoo to be introduced.
What's interesting, you mentioned horror. For whatever reason, a lot of people did not like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and I really, really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Doctor Strange.
I saw it in the theater twice. Like, I saw it in theater twice. It's a
Yeah,
really
I
good
thought it
movie.
was a dope movie.
Yeah.
I thought it tied in the multiverse concept. It is one of the most horror type of properties they've ever done. It had some genuinely jarring moments here and there. Um, I think horror is the avenue that they really need to explore. As also evidenced by that Werewolf by Night special they did, which is really well done. I mean, you're
It
talking
was.
about something that was just like an hour long or so, but felt like you watched almost a full movie,
Yeah.
and just self-contained, not tied to anything else, but you got to explore that horror universe. I think that would be a dope thing for them to continue to do, or do the cosmic side. We still haven't fully explored the cosmic universe.
You
Um,
mentioned you were talking about horror, and when you look at the top three movie, well, not this weekend because it just started, but last weekend, you've got Scream 6 was
hmm.
like the number one movie. This weekend, you've got The Evil Dead, whatever the other name to it is, which has gotten like 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it looks really, really good. So there are other aspects other than capes and cowls that they can explore. They being Marvel or even DC can explore to keep people entertained and interested in their properties. So
Yeah, they're kind of struggling from their own success of they're gaining that popularity with that Infinity Saga, everything being tied together. So they're trying to steer away from that, explore all the other things, and say, look, we can do Marvel stuff without having it tied to some central theme. And I think it's off-putting to a lot of people because they want to have those. They stay for those after credit scenes, hoping to see something that's an Easter egg for what they expect as part of some larger big picture. I don't think Marvel really has a big picture like that on the level that they had with the Infinity Saga.
well, they
Unfortunately,
got the Kane. They've got the Kane stuff.
they have that in the
Uh,
future for
the
a couple
marriage.
of their
Even
movies,
if
but
you didn't like, even if you didn't like Ant Man, Quantum Mania, whatever, you cannot deny Jonathan Majors as a bona fide star. Jonathan Majors is a bona fide star.
oh,
Um,
absolutely. But we knew that since
I'm
Lovecraft Country.
right, and I'm looking forward to seeing him being the big bad Thanos level bad guy in the Marvel universe. As an aside, even though what you do has absolutely no impact or influence on what Marvel Studios does, stop fan casting Jonathan Majors in any other role. He's Kane. There are tons of other talented actors out there who have never played any type of superhero, supervillain character in any show or movie that you can fan cast for any future black character. It's almost like when you see a lot of black folks specifically see an actor in one role, then they want to fan cast them in every other future role. Idris Elba, Jonathan
Michael Jai
Majors
White.
now, Michael Jai White, Michael B. Jordan, Yahya Abdul Mateen, um, Aldous Hodge, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on. Once these people play those roles, let them have that role. There are tons and tons of other actors who need their shine as well. So,
I'm surprised you talk about this all the time. I'm surprised you haven't started a hashtag support unknown black actors.
yeah, that's a good point because I get irrationally angry. I get irrationally angry whenever somebody fan casts one of
John
these
David
actors
Washington,
who's
Parasail is
played.
another name to throw in the mix.
John David Washington is not a good actor, but I get irrationally angry when people start fan casting these same 6 or 7 actors for every black superhero role. Like there are tons of other actors out there. Expand your horizons. Going back to John David Washington. John David Washington is the son of the great actor Denzel Washington. John David has gotten a lot of roles, but his best role to me and Paul probably has was his portrayal as a football player, a washed up football player in the HBO series Ballers. John David Washington went to Morehouse College, my alma mater. I've actually seen him play live in person. Fine, whatever. Outside of that role, I've seen most of everything else that he's been in. He's just not that good yet. He is so very wooden. He's so very stilted. Please stop fan casting him and stuff. Definitely not as T'Challa, because he is not up to the level of Chadwick Boseman, God rest his soul. But
look,
there are so many other actors out there that can play that specific role, as well as other Black superhero characters. Or even
I don't get too much into the fan casting thing, but I mean, you mentioned your number one choice at one point was Idris Elba Damson Idris for the role of T'Challa in Black Panther. Now, here's the thing: for those of you who don't know, Damson Idris is sort of gained his notoriety on a television show from FX called Snowfall. Every time I watch that show now, all I can see is T'Challa. But moreover, they have other characters on that show that also would fit well in the Marvel universe. His uncle, the guy who plays
his uncle to play Luke Cage.
His uncle would make a dead ass Luke Cage.
Just bring Mike Coulter back.
Uncle, I think his uncle would do a better Luke Cage than Mike Coulter. Love Mike Coulter, but his uncle was made to play Luke Cage. He just looks like Luke Cage. He sounds like Luke Cage. Every time I look at this brother, all I can think about is Luke Cage. He's got the build of a Luke Cage. And his wife, Louie, she could easily play Misty Knight. Throw an afro on that sister, she could easily be Misty Knight. She got the attitude. She got the acting chops. She's got the swagger.
Okay, bring up the picture of Amin Joseph, Amin Joseph. He's the actor who plays.
We're not going to spend 30 minutes talking about fan casting. I can't do it.
Well, fine. But he plays Jerome Saint in Snowfall. Snowfall is a series on FX about basically how the crack epidemic became prevalent in LA in the 1980s because the CIA flooded inner cities with crack cocaine.
This brother is Luke Cage.
I still want Michael Coulter. Now, with that being said, Joseph, who's may or may not be related to one of our boys, he's a big dude. Like he's probably like 6'1". He's
6 feet tall.
He's 6 feet, and he's like physically big. After watching Snowfall and going back and watching other shows, he made an appearance in Sons of Anarchy, which I absolutely love. He's a physically imposing type dude.
Yeah.
And yes, I could see him as Luke Cage, but Michael Coulter is still out there. And his Luke Cage was my favorite Marvel Netflix show. It would be Luke Cage and then Daredevil and then everything else.
As much as I like Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, this brother just has that added element of edge and swagger that I think Luke Cage really needs to have. This dude looks like he'll pound you through a wall any second. In the way he acts. I'm not talking about the way he physically looks, although he has a physically imposing dude. Just his style, his swag is just, he could joke around with you 1 minute and go quick just like that and say, I'm gonna beat your ass in a second. The dude's just great actor. Great actor.
Let me just say this. I could see him as Luke Cage, but I prefer Mike Coulter because he's like literally still right there.
What?
And there's no reason.
Bloodsport says he has never seen Snowfall. Man.
Bloodsport, you need to remedy that. Snowfall is very good.
Look, as soon as you're done with us, go online, go watch Snowfall. It's on the FX channel for free.
If you have Hulu, it's on
free.
Hulu.
No, if you have Hulu, yeah, it's there. But I think you can go to the FX app and watch it for free.
Right. Snowfall, The Wire.
Oh my God! Look at this. Paracelsus. Back in the 70s, there's so many actors who could have played Luke Cage. Fred
None of
Williamson,
those
Jim
except Jim
Brown,
Brown.
Jim
Jim Brown is the only
Kelly,
one.
Bernie Casey. Wow.
Nope. Nah. Jim Brown is the only one who I see.
Fred Williamson? You couldn't see Fred Williamson as Luke Cage?
No.
Dude, you're insane.
No.
Fred Williamson is Luke Cage. In fact, I'm not entirely certain Luke Cage wasn't based on Fred Williamson.
Yeah, you're just saying that because you just saw it, but no.
I'm just saying that because, you know, Fred Williamson's, I just loved him from the 70s. Although I believe most of his films actually were after Luke Cage premiered in 1972. Family, oh, this is from Austin Crafton. When does Angelique Roche's book come out with naming all the Marvel's African-American superheroes? Very good question, Austin. The book has been delayed. John Jennings and Angelique Roche, for those of you who don't know, are putting together a historically significant book called My Superhero is Black. It is going to be a homage and a bit of a reference tool for all of the Black superheroes and major characters in the Marvel Universe. A book like this has never been done before. Ever. Like ever. It's a Herculean task because there are hundreds of Black superheroes in the Marvel Universe, Black characters in the Marvel Universe. And they're trying to summarize the major ones and stick them all in one book. It's been delayed a bit. I believe it originally was supposed to come out in February. I believe at the moment it has been pushed back to July, if I'm not mistaken. June or July. I think it's June or July. Hopefully by Juneteenth, we shall have the book. Well, that's the story on that. But keep your eye on it. It's up for pre-order. Go on blackcomiclords.net. Find the book. It's right there. You can click on it and pre-order it there. blackcomiclords.net. Yes, Bloodsport, it's absolutely a must-have book. If you haven't pre-ordered it, you really need to, because that, when I say it's a historically significant book, I am not exaggerating. We've talked to John Jennings about the book in our lives, in the interviews. He's excited about the book. And from the way he describes it, there's not a single person who's in our Black Comic Lord spaces that's literally not going to want this book. It's going to be that significant. But anyway, dude, we've been on here for over 2 hours.
Yep. I like the way we did things tonight. That's the way we should always do it. So, yeah, it flowed.
Well,
I like that.
Organization and pre-planning is the key.
Yep, absolutely. So anyway, for those of you who watched us tonight, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
If you like what we do, and we hope you do us a simple favor, especially if you're watching us on YouTube. Go on YouTube. Hit the like button, but more importantly, hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it means everything for us, and it helps us to do what we're doing. So until next time, my friends, peace. Mark, always a pleasure, my guy.
Yep.
Catch y'all later.
See you next time.
Next time.